Your prospects are ignoring you. Well, maybe. Hello, I'm Dana Scranton, and today we're going to cover an interesting topic, and it has to do with digital sociology and digital psychology and what that means to you in your marketing efforts. You see, in the digital world that we live in today, there are two sciences that have kind of evolved, known as digital sociology and digital psychology. Now, those sound like heady topics and something that long-haired people in academic offices delve into and really never produce anything of significance, but that's really not the case. For you as an entrepreneur, all you need to understand about these two sciences is this. Digital sociology is the study of behavioral changes and the factors that cause those changes in the digital world. It's real simple. That's what it is. We today behave differently than we did 50 years ago. Why? Because of the influence of the digital world. Social media and the internet have forever changed the way the bulk of the world behaves. It's neither good nor bad, it's just what is. Now, digital psychology, that's a little different. This isn't all about taking people with digital addictions and trying to shrink their heads down to be more normal. No, not at all. Digital psychology has to do with what's called behavioral economics. In other words, how do you get somebody to click on something and buy something? You know, that's kind of blunt and to the point, but that's really what it's all about. And so you, as the online entrepreneur, have to keep in mind that you're working in an environment where people's behaviors have been conditioned by social media, by the internet in general, and all of the technology that goes with it, including very powerful mobile devices. For example, did you know that the average person checks into their smartphone 150 times a day? That's pretty amazing, isn't it? And that during that day, they engage with that phone for 177 minutes. Well, I'll tell you, if I were a boss, I'd be a little worried about where almost 3 hours of time is going each day with people checking their smartphones. Well, we're getting off track. But here's another interesting metric. The average engagement is only 70 seconds. So during the day, that means, in a theoretical sense, you have the opportunity to engage with your prospect 150 times in a 70-second burst. Well, of course, that's all ideal and probably doesn't happen that way. But here is the reason that digital sociology and psychology are so important. Because your ultimate objective is what? It's to get the prospect to take an action, to act on your message, to look at it, to open it, to read it, and to take an action. Now, that's a short-term view, but that's the ultimate objective, because you can't make an impact on that person and their life unless you can get them to engage with you. Now, in the prior series on relationship relevant marketing, which this video is a part of, we've talked about what that is. It's the ability of you, the marketer, to engage your prospects in a series of experiences that range from relevant to your product to completely away from your product, irrelevant to your product, and everywhere in between, as a means of engaging on a human level. The experiences are where people are at today. They want a series of experiences so they can build trust and build a relationship with you so they can take the action. But in order to get them to do that, you have to get behavioral activation. Behavioral activation. What does that mean? It means you got to get them to take an action that you desire. Whether it's clicking on a link, opening an email, reading an article, going to your website, engaging on social media, whatever is part of your plan and strategy to create the series of experiences and engagements that lead your prospect to a decision. Now, those decisions can be all levels. A decision to click, a decision to read, a decision to buy, a decision to join. Whatever it is you're trying to force into the client's mind is where you're going with this whole series of behavioral activations. So when it comes to digital psychology and digital sociology, understanding the dynamics of what's going on out there in the digital world prepares you to create your content such that it will get noticed and it will engage. Your headline, that's the key. You've only got 2 seconds, 3 seconds max to engage your client, engage your prospect. So you have to know what is relevant to them. And that comes down to doing your relevance research, defining your avatar, defining your target market. But it's also contextual. And what that means is consider yourself, for example. When you get up in the morning, do you go to a job that you like or don't like? Are there things that you just love about the day that start right there in the morning? And what about halfway through the day? What's your attitude at that point? What is your state of mind? And what about on Saturdays? Do you have a different state of mind on a Saturday than you do on a Monday morning? That's the context of the attitude that your prospects will be in. So you have a couple of choices. To get behavior activation, which means getting something in front of them that's relevant, you have to consider their frame of mind, their state of mind. Now, the two different approaches, you can go overboard and you can try to craft a content strategy such that you take into account where your prospects might be throughout the day and throughout the week, and you craft your headlines and your content to appeal to them in those specific contextual moments, or you can just target what is likely to be the most relevant issues for them, the areas of greatest interest. And then you weave your story that's relevant to your product, that's second order connection to your product, and that has nothing to do with your product, into a mosaic of experiences that the client, the prospect, or the customer can engage in that ultimately results in a decision. You can take either one of those approaches or somewhere in between. But the whole idea of today's video is to explain to you that digital sociology and psychology play into behavioral activation. Now, because our clients, prospects, and customers have short attention spans these days, because digital devices have enabled them to jump from place to place, site to site, topic to topic, attitude to attitude, we have to keep in mind that behavioral activation is going to be challenging, but it's going to be fun, and you have 150 times during the day when you might be able to engage your client. So that's the overall topic that I wanted to cover today, just to get you thinking in that frame of mind that it's not just about how much you can put out there. It's putting something out there that's relevant, engaging, short enough to be digested, part of a larger content plan to weave a thread of experiences to lead them to a decision to do something that can impact their lives in a positive way that you just happen to have provided. Well, I hope you found this engaging, useful, and I'd like to have you do a behavioral activation exercise by sharing this on social media, by going to my website, DanaScranton.com, leaving a comment, picking up one of the free resources, or tweeting me at DanaScranton on Twitter. So do that. Let's see if behavioral activation works.